Hey everyone, welcome back to Canton Insiders, the quick podcast show by Catholics by Intellect U, where we go inside the Canton Network and talk to the people actually building on it, operating on it, and in today's case, governing it. My guest today wears two hats that don't often see it on the same person. He's the CEO and co-founder of Fairmint. You probably heard about it, but if not, keep up with us to get to know later. And since December, he is also the general director of the Canton Foundation, elected by the foundation itself to represent builders on a board that includes big names. So, Joris, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, hi, Boran. Super excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, excited as well. Could you please tell us a bit about yourself and how you ended up building on chain equity infrastructure?
Yeah, well, my journey to Fairmint and the blockchain and bringing equity on chain is actually pretty old. Like everything started when I became an entrepreneur myself. In France, I had several companies before to launch Fairmint, and I was working mostly on the cloud computing and seeing like new technology changing the way the whole industry was working on. And I remember also it was a period of my life where I had lots of business frustration in a sense that it was hard, complex to bring people to my cap table to make them own a stake in my company, or even as an investor myself, to see a lot of illiquidity in all the assets that I had. And so after I sold my second company, I was like, okay, I want to do something where let's try to fix capitalism as it is. Let's try to make access easier. Let's try to make access to the financial upside of companies easier. And that's when I decided to move to the US. Initially, I started by building an exchange for startups using SPVs, so very TradFi, until I had this discussion with my co-founder and CTO, Thibaut, who introduced me to the blockchain technology. And that was summer 2018, and it blew my mind the same way as the cloud 10 years before. And I was like, oh my God, like the day the financial world will run on those rails, it will be completely different. So I want to be part of that. And obviously, I was hoping it to happen much faster, but we went through the whole discovery and the whole genesis of crypto with the ICOs, the all types of tokens, governance, social, NFTs, meme coins, and all, until now, where finally, people are very interested in running the traditional financial world on the blockchain rails. And what I think is fascinating right now is precisely that the problem that I was willing to solve 10 years ago is just happening now because we are far from the ideology, we are far from the semantics. We are finally embracing the tech for its benefits, and that's fantastic. That so my journey to on-chain equity is pretty like it's a decade, but at the same time, it's just now that we see it pumping in the public debate.
Yeah, and I also think that the journey was kind of successful because Fairmint is the first to adopt the transfer engine protocol, and you're the SEC registered transfer agent. And for those of you new to Fairmint, can you tell us what it does now?
Yeah, well, on the success part, it's a spectrum of success, Everyone will have his own version of the success. I would say that on our end, we keep building and we keep like staying awake at night sometimes to make sure that success is always, the next milestone and that we keep pushing. But basically, for people who don't know Fairmint, so Fairmint is on mission to bring equity on chain. And what does that mean? We're not doing that for the fun. We are not doing that to in a very opportunistic way to try to get the fees fast and then leave. No, we are literally rewiring the whole system of equity from the ground, from the cap table, to make sure that then whoever starts a business today has the opportunity to have a full end-to-end on-chain transaction from issuance, transfer, cancellation, going public, all the shift that we see today happening in the journey of a company, we want that to happen on chain. And the only way to do that for real is to make sure that the source of truth, the authoritative part of the equity, is effectively on chain. That's what we do at Fairmint, and building the plumbing, building like this complete rewiring of capital market is something that takes a lot of time because it's heavily regulated and it requires a lot of care on both the technology and the ability to move from the paper world to the blockchain world without compromising any steps that guarantee the trust of the market today. And that is absolutely core. So we try to do like what I call like the real native on-chain equity. And it's something, a lot of discussion happened today on tokenized security. There are plenty of tokenized security styles and all. The reality is at the end, the main question that people should ask themselves is, where are you on the cap table? If you are not on the cap table, then you don't own a piece of the company. At best, you own an exposure. And I think what we fight for at Fairmint is making sure that people have an access to the financial upside for real and not for cosmetic play.
I agree with that. And does Canton help you somehow in this direction? Because I know that you started, the Fairmint started on Ethereum, Optimism, Base, and now you currently moved to Canton. So what did Canton get right and how it helps you to bring your vision to life?
Yeah, I think the way we moved to Canton is pretty much the same reason why people talk about Canton today. When there is a use case and requirement from customers, and those requirements are like non-negotiable, then either you have the tech solution, either you don't. And for the last 10 years, a lot of the crypto debate were on the technicity, on the TPS, on the decentralization. But a lot of time, the ideology prevent them to also accept the idea of privacy because they were solely focused on public verifiability. And I think this is what scared our customers. Like when we work with a private company, and I had a case yesterday, like a very big company, the CEO, the GC, a board member. I mean, you chat with them and they are like, well, what happened if it is visible on a blockchain explorer? Well, for all those reasons, 18 months ago, we decided to move to Canton for all the cap table things, for all the settlement. It is done on Canton. And the main reason for us to do that was we need to look at our customers in the eyes and say, yes, we guarantee the privacy. Nothing is visible outside of our node, outside of what you allow to be moved. And yes, it's a smart contract. And yes, it's programmable. And yes, it's automated, but it is private. And you control that. This is what they bought. This is what they wanted. And since we did that, that's how Fairmint started to also ramp up mission to bring equity on chain. We saw a huge acceleration, and I hope that soon we'll have a new milestone that will show that this acceleration is accelerating even faster. And honestly, yes, I think when you chat with your customers, you want to make sure that the tech solution you offer to them is not risky. And Canton was our solution. And I like to say also that end of 2024, privacy was not in the discussion as it is today. Like today, everyone is talking about discussion, but at that time, it was very early days of privacy. It was very early days. Like it was a moment where VCs were investing massively in some companies, in some project, but nothing really was live in terms of technology. FHE, ZK were still very early, very complex. And me, when I face a board member or a founding team of a company, I want to make sure that I'm selling them the right tech and the right solution. That's how we moved to Canton. And I know also one thing is that Canton is not a closed ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And that is absolutely key. And it's a message that people need to understand more, I think.
Yeah, talking about talks about the Canton, and I enjoyed, by the way, your Trojan Horse article. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. It's amazing read. And Canton sometimes, for those who didn't read, Canton sometimes get hammered by the crypto, especially Twitter community. They call it as intermediary cosplay, synthetic atomicity, no cryptographic verification. And you, as a director, as the one who sit in the foundation board, you publicly said that some of these technical suggestions are true. So is something wrong with Canton or just misunderstood?
Yeah, no, I think it's just like the crypto debate right now on permissionless or not. I think is
Mm,
completely out of date. It is people from the past that are trying to justify the last 10 years of either bet or investment. I think they need to just look at the reality of the market. You have trillions and trillions and trillions, hundreds of trillions, maybe quadrillions of financial world that will move on chain. And there is no winner yet. No one won. The reality is that this finance right now happens on AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure. Like that's where it lives today. And so whoever is trying to oppose an L1 against another L1 or an L1 against the ideology of L2s is just wrong. The reality is, if they do that, they will just fight for the small piece of the cake that they have been trying to get for the last 10 years. But if we want to be ambitious and we want to go after the whole piece of the cake, not just a small one, then we go after AWS and the cloud and all these technology that are today running the show for this financial world. And there is not a lot of solution if you want to bring the composability and the programmability of the financial assets or innovation that DeFi offered. Well, you need at one point to bring the settlement on chain. And if you don't, then you will always rely on a third party somewhere that will decide or not to do it or not. And I think that's the whole perspective of my article, where I consider Canton as the true Trojan horse for the whole financial world, in a sense that if we are able to bring more of this programmability, to bring more smart contract automation wherever we can, it's not a question of which tech wins or not. It's a question of what can we build on top or not. And I think that literally Canton should be seen as an opportunity for the crypto world to say, okay, now we have more than just a sandbox. Now we
mm,
have assets that we can literally play on. And yes, some of those assets are real world assets and they required regulation. And yes, some will require licensing and all, but that's fine. That's part of the world. And that's part of the trust of the market that has been built over the last 15 years. Do we want to lose this trust? No. Do we want to get rid of all incumbents? No, I think they have a huge play in this specific moment to continue to guarantee the trust. But if we can facilitate the smart contract based type of world by making sure that we offer them a solution that is easy for them to accept, moving away from AWS to Canton, for example, then we just won a lot. Okay. And so that's my vision. That's what I aim and fight for, because I think this is the best opportunity that we have. And I see it also for Fairmint. Like whoever is today trying to do a cap table vendor type of tool, I mean, there is no money out of that. It's a SaaS. It's over. No one wants to pay for an Excel on steroid, especially at the AI era. But if
yeah.
you are able to offer them rails that are natively on chain, where then a lot of other players are able to bring the opportunity that DeFi offered over the last 10 years, then we change the whole thing. And this is exactly what we are on right now at Fairmint. So what I see on the equity security side, I know that it can be applied on many other part of the industry, and that's a huge opportunity.
I couldn't agree more with you. Could be applied, or there is an opportunity. I wanted to ask you, do you think that the real adoption, institutional adoption happening already now, or are most of the huge players are still in the extended pilot mode?
Well, like any big industry, super intermediated with a lot of people in their own sphere, it's always hard to make that move fast. But that being said, over the last, say, 15 months, I see that the reputational risk is gone. Like the Trump election plus Chair Atkins, he sent a message that America is open for business in crypto. From a day to another one, we saw that there is no more reputational risk for institutions, so they just went in. I think they also understood very fast that this is their survival moment, because 5 years of teams super lean, preparing themselves, now going after licenses, and them incumbent trying to fight for their statu quo, there is a lot of tension. And if they don't fight now, they risk their own business. So I think they all made more than just creating a digital asset position and a head of digital asset to go everywhere. I think now they are, after the POC, no more proof of concept. They are like, okay, how do we make sure that this moves on chain like by the end of the year? And I also think that the message sent to the SEC, from the SEC to DTCC with the no action letter, was more than just a no action letter. It was the message, the official message that, guys, you have 2 years. Okay, before the midterms, you have 2 years. Like, rush, make the change, because once it is done, it is done, and it will be hard to come back on it. And finally, I think also that we should all push for that, because the incumbent, they need to succeed. They need to continue to guarantee the trust in the market, because if they are not there, we don't know what happens, and uncertainty is bad. So I think they all understood that. They are all building, they are all doing things. And yes, when I say building, you have two ways. You have the PR side, okay, with all the communication,
Yeah.
and then you have the concrete side. The big news that I see is that the builder side is very structured, is very knowledgeable, and is not cherry picking. I don't see something very partisan. Some players are partisan, but most of the one that I discuss with institutions, they are very open to ecosystems. And I think this is a big win for us. It means that they are here to build and to bring their own effort to the whole industry. So I think it's going to the right direction. No real blocker today.
Okay, no real blocker. I will ask you the following question. Do you think that in these 2 years, since you onboard quite big institutions, do you think they will be able to build the solutions in these 2 years, taking into consideration that some decisions might take time, not even to build something, but to decide on something?
I would say we are facing what's called change management. So if you are a small company, you are lean, it goes fast. If you are a very big player, it takes time. Well, in the industry, it's the same. So you have the super agile team that can learn a new smart contract language and build and ship and go mainnet fast. And then you have all those guys that spend 30, 40 years building compliance flows, who want to make sure that when they do the thing, they don't create or add any risk on top of what they have been building for years to avoid risk. And so it's probably a decade play for the industry. Um, Yeah, it's a matter of being patient and being able to push innovation on your own niche if you are a small team. Um, so yeah, like I said, I don't see real blocker. I think the signal from the regulators, from the institutionals, the leadership of these institutionals, like everything is green right now. The worst is when crypto as an industry fail, like when there is exploit or risk or stuff that are created. And the only way to alleviate that is to create things that mimic the TradFi world. Either by having the crypto version of the FDIC, for example. What prevents us to do that? Maybe nothing. Maybe we can put a fee tomorrow on a DEX to make sure that we create a fund that guarantee X and that show and prove that as an industry we are able to do things very reliably and decreasing risk and liabilities. So you have plenty of solution, but the audience is changing. The people in the room are now for some risk averse and for some risk takers. That's good. We need that to confront and we need them to work together.
Okay, let's bring them together. So we at Intellect.eu are focusing on bridging this gap as well. Thanks for the talk about Canton. Maybe a small question on the more personal side about the Fairmint. You just acquired the RWA desk. So this is the private events platform with big players in the room as well. So you're surrounded by big players from all the sides. Was this move about access to these decision makers, or is it just your product expansion?
Well, I will follow up on what I was just saying. Like risk takers and risk averse people, you want them to be on the same room. You want the people that are here to build together. So whatever initiative can be done to make sure that we bring the one that don't want to take risk and the one that are willing to take risk is good. And the RWA desk was very obvious when I started to chat with the founder, Chad Oda. It was very obvious that we wanted to work together, that we were very aligned on our vision of how the industry needs to be rewired, not for the fun, not for a very short term, but really for the next 50 years, the same way it was done in the 70s. And I saw the quality of the people in these rooms multiple time, and when we decided to say, hey, what if we structure that? What if we add to that like clear product initiative, clear budget as well, to bring always more people without being biased? Like literally, for us, what matters is how this rewiring is done. And so yeah, it was a real like simple and obvious decision to make the acquisition and onboard the team so that we can all work together. And I started to see already over the last 2 months how people are coming back to us, or how people are replying to the private gathering that we organize, to the point that I think down the road it will be new investors, new allocators, new institutionals joining the Fairmint product as well, benefiting the Fairmint product, making sure that they participate to on-chain capital formation more and more, because they already ask for that when we chat with them. And finally, as we were very centric on founders, it's a fantastic opportunity for them, because now on top of the product, they can participate to this private gathering and shake hands with people that before they had no access to.
Great move, and congratulations on that. I'm glad that it worked out for you. Anything else that we can expect from Fairmint? Some bold moves in the nearest future?
Well, plenty of alpha that I obviously won't share today.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fairmint, the moment that we start to bring equity on chain, it's a whole industry. And I like to say that the line are completely blurred right now between the private and the public market. And the reason why I say that is for 40 years, going public was a status. And today, it's almost like staying private is the status. But how do you solve the liquidity need of the market? And the way the industry answered to that is at best opaque. They created access. They created fund that where everyone is literally paying fees and fees and fees and fees. And at the end, maybe you own a potential financial upside on a potential financial upside on a potential SPV unit that own a piece of what? SpaceX, Entropic. So basically, the market right now is selling the brand name, and you have tons of intermediaries that are taking fees on those transactions, wrapping the stuff into SpaceX XYZ type of token or SpaceX XYZ type of fund. This is not an answer. It is a patch to the request for people to own financial upside and to get financial upside in SpaceX or in Anthropic or in OpenAI. Fairmint is making sure that this is much more clear. Fairmint is making sure that you know what you own. And if there is 10 intermediaries, every cap table being on chain, you should know what you effectively own. You should see the waterfall on everything. And so I won't say more, but what Fairmint is on right now is precisely making sure that you as an investor, you have your app and you are able to see what you own. You have your proof of ownership in your pocket. Literally all the world as we knew it when it was paper, you will be able to replicate it now in your mobile. That's what Fairmint is on right now.
Great mission, great vision. Thank you, Joris, for talking about it. And I'm so happy you joined me for this conversation. For everyone, this was the Canton Insiders Season 2. We go network wide this time. Today I was joined by Joris, the CEO of Fairmint and Global Director of Canton Foundation. Find Fairmint at fairmint.com. Find Joris. I will link his LinkedIn and X in the description. And find Catalyx at catalyx.solutions. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and follow up for more episodes.
Thank you, Badan.